Okay, so now let's move on and let's talk about this situation. So we got a lot of new movies. It's like my damn childhood is coming back. So it's like a lot of movies from the 80s and 90s are getting sequels or remakes and things of that nature. So Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdy, who there have been rumors that they're on the outs because a lot of their movies have not been making a lot of money. And unfortunately, I'm just hoping that that story is not true because here's the thing. A lot of the movies they've been releasing as of late have been pretty good. The problem is because they're taking a lot of risks. Like they came with, I think, Companion. There was, well, not well. Foley, I do. We could just score. That was a big mistake. They shouldn't have went with that. But there been a lot of movies that have been coming out of the Warner Brothers lot that have been pretty good. The only problem is they have not been accumulating a lot of money. But I feel like there's going to be a bit of a turnaround. Fingers crossed that Sinners, which is a Warner Brothers film that's coming out this week and is getting rave reviews, is getting 100% from a lot of the critics and things of that nature. And everybody that I know that have seen it has high praise for this film. And I definitely want to see it. So I'm going to definitely have to buy my ticket and go check it out this week. That one, and I still want to see Drop. I'm wondering how well Drop did at the box office. I have no idea off the top of my head, but Pam Abdy and Mike DeLuca are basically opening up, and they're talking about that we're getting a lot of new movies that are coming out, and they're revisit like I think like a reboot of Gremlins. We're also getting a new Matrix, which I did talk to y'all about not too long ago. We're also getting The Goonies, a sequel, finally. Although I was a little apprehensive about it back in the day. I was like, don't touch my Goonies, because that is like one of my all-time favorite movies growing up as a kid. However, if you do have an interesting idea, I'm just like, look, if it sucks, because sometimes things are inevitable. I don't cry over spilled milk. I just wipe it up. So if a movie sucks, at least I can go back and enjoy the other films. And we definitely need, I feel like now more than ever in this era in which we're living in, we're definitely in the damn Matrix. So we definitely need a reboot or a new idea of the Matrix because I feel like the Wachowskis shot their wad with the original film. Matrix Reloaded had really cool action sequences and things of that nature. And I like how they pushed the boundaries in regards of like special effects and stunts and action sequences. Doing all that was cool. The story was a little too heavy-handed for me. Revolutions, I was like, oh, so we're just gonna get a 2.5 hour movie of Zion going to war. I was so bored with that movie, but overall, it had its moments that I enjoyed. But I particularly enjoyed when they had like the cool costumes and the gunfighting and or gun food that they had, which we saw later on in the John Wick franchise, and the crazy wire work and the cool martial art fight sequences. I was looking for all of that, and I want more of that. And I'm hoping that Drew Goddard, who is producing and writing and directing the new movie, will explore more of that. So yeah, so they sat down for a lengthy interview. I'm not going through the whole interview because we'll be here all day with that. If you want to check it out, I did link it on my website and the link to Deadline's full article with them. But yeah, they said that they were pretty excited about Amblin developing with Chris Columbus new entries in the Gremlins and Goonies franchises. And Gremlins was crazy. I remember when Gremlins first, I don't know if it when it first came out or it was years later. But I do remember when I went to camp, me and my sister did the whole fresh air fun thing where it was like you get to go stay with different people. So we went upstate and we got to stay with like 3 different people. This one girl, she had like a waterbed and her boyfriend, he had a truck, whatever. And me and my sister, well, we used to sneak when they wasn't in the house. We used to jump on the waterbed because I'd never been on one. And waterbeds back in those days was like a big thing. They're freaking annoying now that I look back on it. But it was such an icon because I'm like, I ain't never seen that like that before. And so that was my first time with this girl. I can't remember what her name was, but that was the first time we got to experience going to a drive-in movie theater. And 2 of the movies that we got to see was Twilight Zone the movie. Because I think they just showed like random movies and stuff, even if it wasn't the year that they came out. So we saw Twilight Zone the movie, and then it was like a double feature. And then I remember seeing The Gremlins, the first one, obviously, and sitting in a truck in my pajamas, and my sister had pajamas on too, eating popcorn and drinking and eating candy and all this other stuff and watching this movie. It was like a real iconic experience because it was like I never experienced in, being in a drive-in movie theater, especially when you're a city kid. Like, where they got drive-in movie theaters? So you had to go to like the, upstate or like smaller towns and all other stuff to experience that. So, Christopher Columbus was, of course, the writer of the original Gremlins. So they're saying, so, with him coming back, I do have faith that we're going to actually get a good movie out of this. And I love that movie. That's like one of my all time favorite movies. I watch it every Christmas. Mrs. Beagle was a pain in the ass. Shout out to Polly Holiday. May she rest in peace. But that was, her plan, the mean lady in town that she was always going after, Zach Galligan and his dog. It felt very much like she was the Wicked Witch of the West in, from the Wizard of Oz. Sidebar, I finally got around. Speaking of one, is one? No, that's Universal. I was like, speaking of which, I finally got around to watching Wicked. I actually liked it. Can't wait for part two. But anyway, I just wanted to say that. Now they also said that we're getting a sequel to Beetlejuice. So what they gonna call? Oh, well, obviously Beetlejuice. Duh, that would be the name that they would call it. Don't throw tomatoes at me, but I still haven't seen Beetlejuice, so I don't even know if a sequel is warranted. I don't even know what happens to Jenna Ortega's character. So it's like her talking about she don't want to do pre-existing IPs and sequels and things. My question is she going to do Beetlejuice, if there is anything more to do with her character? So I don't know. That'll be interesting to hear if she does come back for that. As far as the Matrix, like I said, I would definitely want to see that. I want to see Minecraft. I'm going to wait until that comes out on like streaming or whatever the case is, or maybe even like I'll rent it when it comes out on digital. But I've heard so many crazy things going on with Minecraft that they're talking about that people are literally being rowdy. They're assaulting like the ushers and stuff, and it like people just don't know how to act. It's like, what are y'all doing? Like, I don't understand how this movie of all films, which I've heard has already grossed like $1 billion at the box office in 2 weeks worldwide. Which is crazy. How this film of all films is like what people looking at is like, yeah, this is the $1 billion movie, the box office. I'm still like that still blows my mind, but not only are the people acting rowdy in there, I saw a video, and I wish this was a lie, where someone literally set off fireworks in the movie theater for Minecraft. Now, I'm surprised the sprinklers didn't go off where everybody got wet. But my thing would be this: whoever the culprit was, they should have been locked up. They should have been locked up for what they did. But I do think that's crazy. But one of the things that I found remotely interesting from the article, because they did mention about the whole was the Christopher Nolan thing where they did the whole day and date and that whole situation, how they messed that up in regards of like releasing the movie day and date. But I don't know if it was them or if it was under the last regime that were working at Warner Brothers. Sidebar: did y'all also hear that David Zaslav got himself a big old bonus while everybody else is over there struggling behind the scenes? So y'all still over there doing that whole kickback mess? So yeah, but in regards of that, one of the articles where they was talking about the Big Tent, films have been matched with library IP, because they were talking about that it was important what they liked was with Christopher Nolan, the whole Dark Knight thing, how they matched up directors with an IP that they think they can really score them, I guess, a hit, or give the genre a much needed boost. Like we had, like I said, with Christopher Nolan with The Dark Knight, or you have Denis Villeneuve with the Dune franchise, or you had Margot Robbie, who also is still working with Warner Brothers on an interesting idea. We'll get to that in a second. Or you have Margot Robbie with the Barbie franchise, because she did produce that. So they mentioned that. So DeLuca mentions that, yeah, Drew Goddard is writing and directing The Matrix. Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, and Jay Roach are working on an Ocean's 11 prequel. I also saw that Ryan Gosling's wife, Eva Mendes, mentioned that Ryan Gosling had something to do with a hand in. Wasn't just only him, but he had a hand in getting the stunt category pushed into the Oscars, which we'll finally see when the Oscars turns 100 in 2028. Which I think is actually pretty good that we're finally going to get, that they're getting their justice with the stunts, because for a long time, we've always said that stunts should be incorporated in the whole Oscars thing, but they need to figure out how they can make that work, because there's a lot of stunts that should be acknowledged. Just like y'all acknowledge hair, makeup, and special effects and all this other stuff, you should acknowledge the stunt crews and things as well. because a lot goes into that. And so they also mentioned that Matt Reeves is a producer working with Marvel's Werewolf by Night director Michael Giacchino on a remake of their library titled Them. Is that the one about the giant bugs, like them with the big ants? That might be actually a good thing to see if they could try to bring that into this generation. And then Andy Serkis is directing a Gollum movie, and they said there's other films that they can't talk about, but I do feel like those are some interesting ideas. So I'm genuinely interested in seeing an Ocean's 11 prequel with a new cast. I'm definitely interested in seeing what Drew Goddard could bring to the Matrix, because Drew Goddard, in my opinion, I don't know if people are really familiar with a lot of what he has been behind. But a lot of the stuff that he's done, I like. First of all, he directed Bad Times at El Royale. He directed The Cabin in the Woods. I love that freaking movie. It's such a genre film. He also directed Spider-Man Homecoming. He also was behind, the High Potential series, which I'm hearing is getting great reviews. I still haven't gotten around to watching that. He did Cloverfield. He did The Martian. I think it was supposed to be a bit behind the whole Sinister Six thing, but that never popped off. I believe also that he's also written episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Supernatural. So if you are a genre fan, you definitely know that Drew Goddard is that dude, and he's immensely talented. And I'm glad that if there's going to be somebody that can shed a new light and breathe new life into the Matrix franchise, it would be him, because like I said, I think the Wachowskis had a great idea with the first Matrix. I think that Warner Brothers was so happy that this movie just became this big phenomenon at the time, that there was like, we want more. And I don't know if they had any interesting ideas where they wanted to create a trilogy, but I'm definitely interested in seeing what he's going to bring with this franchise, and if we're going to get a new Neo, because remember, there's been 6 different versions of Neo. And does Keanu Reeves need to come back? No, I think you could reboot the franchise with a new Neo. But I don't know if, like I said, I can't see if Keanu Reeves will want to come back, especially when he's getting up there in age, and he's got to do another John Wick, and you know how physically demanding that part can be, and him having to do all the wire fu and stuff. I don't know. Maybe they could find somebody else that they could bring into that franchise. Who, I have no idea, but they'll have to find a new Neo. Or maybe not even a new Neo. Maybe they can come up with a new character or a new Resistance or something of that nature. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of this story in regards of, are you here for a new Beetlejuice, a new Matrix movie, a new Gremlins movie, or a new Goonies movie? And all the other films that they were talking about is in development. Me personally, like I said, I'm curious to see what they're going to bring with those franchises, because the Gremlins, Goonies, that's all my childhood. Beetlejuice, I love the original movie. Still haven't gotten around to seeing the new one, even though it is available on, what is it? HBO Max, I think it's on. So it's available. I just haven't gotten around to it. I just started catching up on movies. Like, I finally got around to watching, like I told y'all, I finally got around to watching Wicked, which I liked. I saw Nosferatu, was bored to death watching that. Atmospheric wise, cinematography, everything was perfect. Loved the overall aesthetic of the film. Robert Eggers, you bored me to death watching that damn film. I nodded off quite a few times with that movie. And then the ending was so, like, really, that's it? Like, that's how y'all killed him? Like, I was so underwhelmed by the third act and the ending. Aaron Taylor Johnson, it literally took me half that movie to realize that was him in one of the scenes in the film. So aesthetically, acting wise, was great. Movie was I was a little underwhelmed by it. But I do want to get around to watching Beetlejuice. I'll try to see if I can get around to that this week. But anyway, enough of that. I want to hear from you all. Let me know what your thoughts are on this in the comments down below.